Welcome to my experience as a blended instructor. Today I'm going to begin by showing you 3 different Moodle courses and then summarize my experience through a presentation. By the end of the presentation, I will have touched on my approach to planning a blended course, defining the overall architecture of the online presence, tips for other instructors, students, and parents, and my overall lessons learned. The first course that I'm taking you to will be Networking Foundations 101 course. I have established a brand with this course by using the logo at the top. This matches my other documentation for the course. I then established the high-level learning goals for the course at the beginning along with critical due dates. I put this at the top because that is the most important real estate on the page, and I want students to know what the course is about and what will be expected of them. As students scroll down the page, they begin to see different sections within Moodle. Each section is marked with a dark large font, and then underneath we have the specific learning goals for that section. Following that, we have 3 internal sections called Learning, Assignments, and Assessments. The Learning holds instructional supports for additional learning. Assignments holds the assignments that will be graded, and then the Assessments holds vocabulary quizzes, application quizzes, and performance quizzes. Because for this course the quizzes are outside of the Moodle system, students have to screenshot their quiz result and upload it to Moodle. That is why earlier you saw 2 entries for quizzes, Attempt 1 and Attempt 2. Normally, the Moodle quiz, both attempts would be listed in the same quiz result sheets. Because I like the item analysis feature of Moodle, I only go outside of the system to facilitate quizzes when absolutely necessary. When it is necessary, I provide the students with directions with very good visuals, and which enables them to be able to complete it from home. The second course I will be taking you to is Game Design and Development 101. Again, I have established a brand for the course as noted by the logo at the top. This module uses a discussion, a chatting corner where students can discuss problems that they're encountering. This supports collaborative learning between the students. I have chosen not to put the overall learning objectives in the top portion of the page in this module because examples of work and templates are more important for the students in this course. I lean on the learning objectives within each section to communicate what learning will occur. The overall architecture is the same with the learning, assignments, and assessments. To show you a sample learning support tool, here are quizzes, flashcards, that use Quizlet, and students can read the definition, flip it to see if they have the word correct, and they can choose different games to help them learn. Notice it opens its own window so that when they close out, they're back into the course. New to this module is the completion tracking feature. I have begun using this as a result of my being in this blended course with Miss Thorpe, and I'm finding that it's helping students manage time as they can compare what they've accomplished in Moodle to their student plan, which at this point is a paper-based plan that they receive on Monday and is submitted on Friday. The third course that I'm going to take you to is my Career and Job Readiness Moodle course. In this course, a brand has not yet been established, thus the logo is missing. But what is unique about this course is that I have implemented my first flipping of instruction. There is, under the resume, students have to do some advanced formatting in Microsoft Word. So to empower them to work on this at home, I used Jing to create a video of the instructions, and what that does is it creates a flash file. I'm not particularly excited about a flash output because it's not supported on the iPhone and iPad, but for something to meet a quick need, Jing did the job. Now what I'm going to do is move over to my presentation and take you and summarize my blended experience. So what is blended learning? Well, I view it as collaborative learning at its best, cooperative learning, peer-to-peer collaboration. It's learning that can happen anytime, anywhere. It's a blend of brick and mortar and online. It really brings together the best of traditional teaching with the best that online learning has to offer. Why blended learning? Probably the biggest reason for it is it develops skills for students that they will need in the workplace for the 21st century. It allows them to use technology to accomplish their learning, which is what virtually almost every workspace requires today. So, as we go through my lessons learned, I had to joke a little bit because my first course, there were a lot of things that I did over. And I truly had this thought that I could only hope that by the time I got through it the second time, I was coming to the end of my lessons learned, because reworking a course it can be frustrating. So this comic was a little humorous to me. So what are my tips for a new blended instructor? As I just alluded to, having to rework an online course or a blended course is time consuming. So it's so important more than ever to do a good job of planning before you start creating. Some of the key questions that I have found valuable are: what do you want students to know by the end of the course, and what do you want students to be able to do by the end of the course? Two different things, knowledge and skill. How long is your course going to be? Is it a trimester? Is it a semester? Could it vary? In post-secondary, is it one of the 6-week, 8-week accelerated courses? It's important to know in setting up your course. What are the main units of instruction in this course, and what do you want students to be able to do by the end of a week? And I choose week because that's the pacing model I use with my students. At the beginning of the week, they know what needs to be done by the end of the week. And we work in weekly increments in both my first year and second year. What resources will you need for this course? Once you've identified those resources, what format do they come in? Will you need to digitalize some resources? For example, do you have a handout that's in paper format that you would like to scan into PDF? And by the way, I would recommend that you never post Microsoft Word documents to Moodle or any kind of online course management tool, because you cannot assume that everybody has the same version of Microsoft Word that you do. If you use PDF, they all can have access to the free Adobe Reader, and you can be assured that they can read your document. What learning supports will your students need? Digital vocabulary cards, peer collaboration, samples of work, rubrics, etc. My next suggestion, my next tip is: when creating quizzes in Moodle, do the following 3 things. Set your quiz up so that questions appear in random order. If your students are going to take the quiz at home, use time limits, and automatically allow a retake, but only after 24 hours. By doing these 3 things, you virtually eliminated the opportunity for cheating, because if they're taking it in your brick and mortar environment, somebody looking over isn't going to be on the same question that somebody else is. If they're doing it at home, by setting a time limit, you have virtually eliminated the possibility of using the internet or looking up in a textbook the answers to the questions. And by automatically allowing a retake, after 24 hours, you're usually meeting most of your, a very common accommodation that we find as instructors, where students are allowed to retake a quiz. I like 24 hours because it prevents students from brute forcing the quiz and just memorizing it and then regurgitating it immediately after they've taken it. Leverage a discussion database to allow peer-to-peer support. Here's an example of one of our databases where students put in a problem, and then other students are allowed to answer, and they can troubleshoot in a virtual space. Now, these particular ones here are recent problems that have been, January and, February and March, they were winding down the technical issues that they were having, but some of the previous posts, there were some substantial replies that were very beneficial. So, for our final tips, have students edit their profile with their school's email address. This is just CYA for you as a blended instructor. If you can find many ways to communicate automatically with the student, it eliminates the excuse of, I didn't know. By having them put their school email in their profile whenever, if you set up an assignment so that the student is emailed when you grade or you make a comment, then you're assured that they're going to get it in their school email, they'll get it through Moodle messaging, and they can also get it by just checking the assignment on Moodle. And don't be afraid to use the quiz engine for formative assessments. What I mean by that is the quiz engine, you can put out, some multiple choice, some true-false questions, just to get a sampling for how well the students are assimilating the knowledge. Moodle's item analysis feature is very, very helpful in drilling down and finding what problem areas still exist for students. So, for your blended learners, how can you help them? Tell students, email a copy of the Moodle URL to yourself. This particular one resembles probably the most frequent question I get at the beginning of a course is, Mrs. Kuzma, I was going to work on this at home, but I forgot how to get into Moodle. Well, I had attempted to provide them with a small piece of paper that had the information on, thinking it would fit into the wallet, but guess what? Never got into the wallet. This way, if they email it to themselves, they can get at that URL no matter where they are and what device they're on. And tell the students, become familiar with the learning supports that have been provided you. Have them practice clicking on them. Have them do it in your brick and mortar environment and at home, because it will flush out any potential hardware issues you might have. Have students set up a routine to when they're going to check Moodle every day. If you have a blended course where you only see the students 2 times a week and the other days they're working away from your brick and mortar presence, well, it can get real easy to forget. So if you encourage students to set up a routine, that will help them. And also, along those notes, if they do fall behind, you've got to encourage them to Skype with you, to email with you, to do whatever they need to do to communicate with you. And if you can set those communication vehicles up with them at the beginning of the course and get them comfortable with them, they're more likely to use it. And encourage students to put to find an environment where they're going to be least distracted. So what is some of the feedback I've gotten from stakeholders? Students have said they love a Moodle class because they can access it anytime they want. This has been particularly valuable for a couple of students that have been critically ill in my program. They are virtually doing the same classwork from a hospital and from home because of the online presence. They say if they miss a day, it's easy to get caught up, and they like having assignments and tests online. Our students come from a digital era. They aren't very keen on paper-based assignments anymore. Parents say, I like being able to see what my child is doing in class. It's also kind of an accountability piece. If they don't think their child's being honest with them, they can say, hey, open up Moodle. Let's see if you finished the assignment. Let's see if Mrs. Kuzma graded it. Let's see if Mrs. Kuzma provided feedback. And parents say Moodle is great for preparing them for the 21st century workforce. They like that it is also preparing them for our college course. You know, a blended course requires some independence. It requires increased individual responsibility, which again is what they're going to need in college. They like how students collaborate just like they themselves do in their own workplace. And overall, they just feel it helps build responsibility. Teachers say it takes a lot of time to get the course initially set up, and that is true. It is true. But after that, all you have to do is tweaking it. Maintaining it is a lot simpler than maintaining a paper-based unit. Teachers say my instructional support staff can belong to my class and see how my course is running. They can provide some math, reading, and science support directly into my course. It's easier to co-teach with another instructor when using Moodle. You don't have to physically be in the same brick and mortar classroom. You can be on opposite ends of the building. You can be in separate buildings and still be able to collaborate virtually. Teachers love that they can access Moodle from home, and they feel visually and functionally it's better than Blackboard. So how has my teaching changed? I have found now that I have standardized on an architecture for my course, it's really easy to set up a new course because I can copy and paste those bigger components over. It just increases my efficiency. Because I'm more efficient with that, and because my questions that I write are being saved in a central database that I can access from any course, I feel like I'm taking more time to write the best questions that I possibly can, specifically, you know, really good STEM and distractors. My unit planning has improved simply because I don't want to have to rework an online course. My use of Web 2.0 tools has increased significantly. Once I establish a link in a course, I'm not going to forget it's there. My students always have access to it. If you teach a course, you know, once a year and it's the first trimester of every year and you go into, you're preparing to teach it again and you go, what was I using? Hey, it's all there and it's great. I have abandoned paper-based note cards for vocabulary comprehension. As I showed you earlier, I use Quizlet. It provides students with different ways of learning the vocabulary cards. It's implementing green technology. Also, through Web 2.0 tools, I feel like I'm touching on various learning styles, specifically the visual learner, the kinesthetic learner, and the literary learner. My teaching has changed. I would say a really good positive outcome from being a blended instructor is that my instructional supports have increased. I have to really be proactive in thinking through what type of helps students are going to have when they're outside of my brick and mortar. A mark of a good program to me is minimal questions in areas that I thought I covered clearly. If I accomplish that, then that's a big plus sign for me. I've begun to flip my instruction. Instructing once and recording it allows me to efficiently provide remediation. I'm using item analysis more to identify specific areas needing remediation by the students. It's so easy to get that information in Moodle. I can walk into a day and want to refresh where the problem areas are and go to that item analysis, and it's very easy to understand. Some new things that I'm doing is I'm using discussion databases to support peer-to-peer learning and to support reflection. One thing new this year is instead of just having students reflect on something that I put out there, I'm also having them respond to other students' reflection. I'm also new this year using quality checklists. I'm asking my parapro to go through my course once I feel it's ready to be released, and having a fresh pair of eyes look at it and fill out a form that I've made just efficiently provides good feedback for me. I've also started using the completion tracking feature in Moodle. This has been very cool for students that struggle with time management. They're able to check off a task they completed in Moodle, or the system will check it off if that's how I have it set up once they meet the criteria, and they're able to cross-check that with their paper-based student plan. I thought this was kind of interesting. This reflects a lot of times the feedback I get from students anyways. You know, their reason why they weren't good at time management is because they're not good with time management, if that makes sense. Another new thing that I mentioned earlier is flipping. I'm really excited about that, and it's one of my big goals this summer as I review my Moodle courses is to significantly increase my flipped instruction. Students with Creative Commons, another new thing. Students are now copywriting their products that they create, their games, their websites, their presentations, and they are really excited about it. And as a result, it provides an easy, teachable opportunity for me. And I believe that students have taken that whole subject more seriously as a result. So here are the resources that I use for this presentation, and of course my Creative Commons copyright for this presentation as well. In closing, I would just say that of everything I have shared with you, the most important piece of instruction, the most important tip I could give you is to do a really good job at planning before you start developing your blended course. Thank you for taking the time with me to reflect on my blended instruction experiences, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me at nkuzma@oaisd.org.